Okay, I want to start this deep dive with a little experiment. It's going to require you to be honest with yourself for just a second.
Oh boy.
I'm going to throw two words at you, and I just need you to sit with your immediate visceral reaction. Don't judge it. Don't, intellectualize it yet. Just notice what your body does.
I have a feeling I know exactly which words you're about to drop.
You probably do. The words are mommy and baby girl.
There it is. I could practically feel the collective cringe radiating through the speakers.
Right. It is immediate. I tried this on a friend yesterday, and she physically recoiled. For, 99% of the adult population, those words,
Especially together.
especially when they're used between two grown adults, they trigger a massive red flag. You think role play, you think the bedroom, you think kink. Or maybe you just think, wow, that is uncomfortable, and I want no part of it.
Which, to be fair, is a completely rational response.
All right.
I mean, based on our cultural context.
Yeah.
We're wired to see those terms as either biological, literal mothers and children, or sexual.
Yep.
There isn't really a third category in most people's minds.
Exactly. It feels like it belongs strictly in the realm of fantasy or power exchange. But, and this is a huge but, it's why we're here, that assumption is exactly what we need to dismantle today. Because the stack of research, clinical notes, and source material we've pulled for this conversation, it flips that narrative entirely on its head.
It really does. And I think we need to say this right up front. We aren't talking about sexuality today, not kink, not lifestyle BDSM. We are looking at source material that defines this terminology as a high-level therapeutic framework for something called parent-child relational repair.
It's a bit of a curveball, I know. But the mission here is to look at this through the lens of nervous system regulation. We're exploring how high-functioning adults,
People who run companies.
yes, people who manage households, people who look like they have it all together, are using this to heal the parts of themselves that, well, that learned to survive alone.
And that's the key demographic here. This isn't usually for people who are, failing at adulthood. It's often for the people who are too good at it.
So if you're listening and you consider yourself a learner, someone who wants to understand the mechanics of human behavior without the fluff, I need you to just suspend the judgment for maybe 15 minutes. We're about to unpack how a language system that sounds totally irrational might actually be the most rational way to fix a broken attachment style.
Our goal here is to understand the mechanics of healing. Specifically, that distinction between a fantasy that helps you escape reality and a dynamic that actually repairs your ability to live in it.
So let's get into it. This is the deep dive on the language of safety.
Okay, let's start with definitions. We have to clear the air immediately because the vocabulary is so charged. According to the clinical insights we're looking at, when we talk about this mommy and baby girl dynamic in a healing context, we are defining it as a symbolic caregiving framework.
Symbolic caregiving. That feels like the key phrase. It puts some distance between the literal meaning.
It does. And the source material is incredibly explicit about this. This is not age play. It is not about, pretending to be a literal child in a diaper. It is not about power exchange for arousal.
Right.
And maybe most importantly, it's not about dependency in a toxic sense.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here for the listener, because if I'm an outsider looking in and I see one adult calling another adult mommy, it looks like all those things. So if it's not those things, what are the symbols actually doing?
Good question. Let's break down the terms.
Yeah.
So in this framework, mommy isn't a gender role. It's not even really a biological role. It is a symbol for regulated presence.
Regulated presence. That sounds pretty clinical. Break that down for me.
It means a nervous system that isn't freaking out. It's a nervous system that is grounded, calm, and capable of handling someone else's big emotions.
So it's the anchor.
Mommy, in this context, represents safety, consistency, unconditional care. It stands for the capacity to be an emotional anchor. It's the person in the room who isn't falling apart.
Okay, so that's the anchor. Then on the flip side, you have baby girl. And again, I'm asking you to just detach from the cultural baggage of that word for a second. What is that symbol doing in this specific therapeutic equation?
Baby girl represents vulnerability. It represents need and softness.
Yeah.
But here's the nugget from the source that I found really powerful.
Yeah.
It represents the right to receive care without earning it.
That hits hard. The right to receive care without earning it.
It's the core wound for so many people.
Yeah.
That deep-seated belief that care is transactional.
Yeah.
that you only get love if you're useful or if you're good or if you're achieving something.
So functionally, this isn't a game, it's a tool. It's about creating a container, a safe space where you can feel things that were historically unsafe to feel.
Exactly. A controlled environment. Think of it like a simulator. You step into the simulator to practice a feeling you can't access in the wild.
But I have to play devil's advocate again. Why would a grown, functioning adult, someone with a job, a mortgage, a 401k need, to enter a dynamic where they are symbolically a baby, it seems, I don't know, counterproductive to adulthood? Shouldn't we be trying to be more adult?
It does seem that way, doesn't it? But the source identifies a very specific psychological profile for this.
Uh-huh.
And it's usually not the person who is failing at life.
It's the strong friend.
That's it.
Yeah.
The one who organizes the group trips.
Yeah.
The one everyone calls when they have a crisis.
The one who never cries at the funeral because they're too busy handling the catering.
Precisely. The person who has it all together. The source lists 3 core damaging beliefs that this dynamic is designed to dismantle. And I bet a lot of you listening will recognize these in yourselves. First one, needing care makes you weak.
Ouch. Yep, that's a classic.
Second, being vulnerable leads to abandonment. Basically, if I show you my mess, you'll leave.
And the third.
Love must be earned through performance, usefulness, or emotional labor.
That's the high performer trap. If I stop working, I stop being valuable. If I stop being the problem solver, I stop existing to you.
Exactly. And this is what the source calls the spiritual and psychological dilemma. It describes a split within the person. Imagine like an internal civil war. On one side, you have the part of you that desperately longs to be held, to be small, to be taken care of.
But then you have the opposing army, the survivor.
Yes. The part that learned to survive alone, that's your hyper-independent side. And then there's usually a third part, a part of the self that judges that need for care as shameful or pathetic.
That's a lot of conflict.
It's a huge conflict. You want care, but your survival mechanism says care is dangerous, and your inner critic says wanting it is pathetic.
That sounds exhausting. Just hearing you describe it makes me tired.
It is. It's a recipe for burnout. The source says this split shows up in adulthood as anxiety, dissociation, or compulsive caretaking of others.
Oh, that's interesting.
You get so busy fixing everyone else that you never have to face your own need to be held.
So you're projecting your own need onto other people and then fixing them instead.
Exactly. You give what you desperately need to receive because it's safer to be the giver. As the giver, you're in control. As the receiver, you have to surrender control.
And that is where this dynamic comes in. It addresses that split. But, and I want to slow down here because this is the most critical technical point in this entire deep dive. The source emphasizes that the goal is integration, not regression.
Yes.
Can you explain that difference? Because to me, talking like a baby sounds a lot like regression.
It looks like it from the outside, I get it, but the internal mechanism is totally different. Regression, as our source defines it, would be losing the adult self. It would be checking out, becoming a child in a way that erases your agency. That's not therapeutic, it's just escapism.
Right. So that's checking out. That's ignoring the mortgage payment. So what is integration?
Integration is tuning in. In integration, the adult self remains present while the vulnerable self is allowed expression. Think of it like driving a car. In regression, a toddler takes the wheel. That's dangerous.
Right.
In integration, the adult is still driving, but the child is in the passenger seat, finally being heard, being seen, and feeling safe.
So you are conscious. You know you are a 35-year-old woman in a room with a partner, but you are allowing that specific inner child part of your nervous system to come to the surface.
Yes. You're receiving care without losing your autonomy. The source puts it beautifully. Healing happens through being witnessed while vulnerable, without punishment, withdrawal, or exploitation.
That's a heavy list. Punishment, withdrawal, exploitation. Those are the things the survivor self is expecting, right?
Correct. The brain expects that if I show you I'm small and needy, you will either hurt me, leave me, or use it against me. This dynamic is a controlled experiment to prove the brain wrong. It rewrites the code.
It sounds like reparenting, but in real time with another person.
That's effectively what it is. It's co-regulation. One partner, the regulated partner, the symbolic parent, lends their nervous system to the other. They provide the safety so the other person can switch out of fight or flight and into rest and digest.
Okay. I get co-regulation. That makes sense. But I have to circle back to the language. I know the listener's still thinking it. Why mommy? Why baby girl? Why can't I just look at my partner and say, hey, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. Can you give me a hug? Why do we need the labels?
It's the million-dollar question. And the source provides a really fascinating neurological answer. It says this specific language works because it bypasses intellectual defenses.
Ah, so the adult brain can't lawyer its way out of the feeling.
Exactly. Think about it. If you look at your partner and say, I need support, your adult brain is still online. It can analyze the response. It can negotiate the terms. It can worry about reciprocity. Am I asking too much? Did I do the dishes today? Is he tired?
Right, you're still in transaction mode. You're managing the whole interaction.
But the terms mommy and baby girl or similar symbolic language, they reach what the source calls pre-verbal emotional memory.
It hits the hard drive before the software loads.
In a way, yes. These terms communicate three things instantly that an adult brain might struggle to accept. First, safety without negotiation.
Okay.
Second, care without condition.
And third.
Presence without demand. When you invoke that symbol of mommy, the archetypal safe mother, you are signaling to the nervous system that you don't have to do anything to deserve to be there. You don't have to be smart or funny or sexy or productive. You just have to be.
That is really profound. It's almost like a password
Of course.
or a shortcut. I think the source says the language itself is not the healing agent. The regulated presence behind it is the medicine.
Correct. You could use different words. Theoretically, you could use red and blue or captain and crew if you really wanted to. But mommy and baby are loaded with a specific antidote to that hyper-independent poison. They signal a reversal of roles. If you spent your childhood having to be the grown-up,
The little parent.
the little parent to your own chaotic parents, then being the baby is the ultimate corrective experience.
But, and this is a massive but that we have to talk about, we are talking about powerful psychological forces here. You can't just play around with this stuff casually. The source has a whole section on non-negotiables.
Yes. And we need to be very clear here. This is where we move from the what to how to do it safely. Because without guardrails, this can easily become unhealthy. It can become codependent or even re-traumatizing.
Okay, so the first one is obvious, but needs to be stated loud and clear. Explicit consent.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Clarity of intention is mandatory. You don't just slip into this in the middle of dinner.
Hmm.
It has to be a discussed, agreed-upon framework. We are doing this for this reason. Both people have to know the rules.
And linking back to what we said earlier, adult awareness must be maintained at all times.
That's the safety net. If you lose adult awareness, you are regressing. You have to know that this is a dynamic you are choosing, not a state you are stuck in. You have to be able to pause if the pizza delivery guy rings the doorbell.
Right, which leads to the next rule. It's time limited.
Vital. This is not a 247 lifestyle. You don't go to the grocery store like this. It involves reversible roles. It's a state you visit to refuel, not a place to move into.
And the source is very strict about this next one, which loops back to our intro.
No sexualization.
No sexualization.
In this specific healing context, yes. No sexualization, no infantilization in a demeaning way, and no exclusivity that isolates the person.
Why is that no sexualization rule so important here? I feel like that's the line that separates this from kink.
It is, because sex often brings performance anxiety and transaction right back into the room. Am I pleasing you? Are you
Okay.
enjoying this? Do I look good? If the goal is care without earning it, sexual expectation just muddies the water. And it needs to be purely about safety. The minute performance enters, the therapy stops.
The source also warns about something called identity fusion. That sounds like a sci-fi term, but what does it mean practically?
Identity fusion is terrifying. It's losing yourself in the other person. If the dynamic becomes permanent, or if it becomes your whole identity like, I am a baby girl, then it stopped being healing. It's moved into avoidance.
It becomes a way to hide from the world rather than a way to gather strength to face the world.
Precisely. Secure attachment is about being connected and separate, not merged. If you can't function without the dynamic has become the problem. You're just trading one dysfunction for another.
So let's look at the best case scenario. If someone does this safely, consensually, with the right intentions, keeping all those guardrails in place, what happens? What's the actual outcome?
The source lists several positive outcomes. Reduce emotional hunger is a big one.
Which makes sense. If you finally get fed, you stop starving. You stop acting so desperate for connection.
Yeah, exactly. Increase self-soothing capacity. And, interestingly, healthier adult relationships across the board.
That seems counterintuitive. You act like a baby to have better adult relationships.
Yes, because you aren't unconsciously looking for a mommy in your boss or your friends or your spouse anymore. You've met that need directly, in a contained way, so you don't have to project it onto everyone else. You have less fantasy-based attachment.
I love that phrase. It clears the fog. You stop hiring people for emotional jobs they didn't apply for.
That's a great way to put it. And it leads to a stronger internal sense of safety. But here is the ultimate paradox, and I think this is the most beautiful part of the source material.
I know where you're going with this. The end game.
The goal of using this dynamic is to stop needing it.
Obsolescence.
Obsolescence. The aim is to build a strong enough internal sense of safety to internalize that regulated mommy voice so that you carry it with you.
You're downloading the software so you can run it yourself.
Precisely. Think of it like a cast on a broken leg. You wear the cast to support the bone while it heals. But the goal isn't to wear a cast for the rest of your life. The goal is to walk on your own.
That's a perfect analogy. It's about restoring the spiritual understanding that being cared for doesn't diminish your power. Once you truly know that, in your bones, not just in your head, you don't need the ritual anymore. You can just be an adult who knows they are worthy of love.
It's the journey from the survivor who fakes strength to the integrated adult who actually possesses it.
So let's recap what we've unpacked. We took a look at a specific and pretty controversial sounding therapeutic tool. We stripped away the immediate misconceptions about sex and role play and looked at the mechanics of symbolic caregiving.
We explored the split between the part of us that needs care and the part that judges that need. And we saw how a regulated presence, even one using simple kind of childish language, can bypass our defenses and wire safety directly into the nervous system.
We talked about the crucial difference between regression, which is checking out, and integration, which is tuning in. And we covered the strict safety protocols, consent, time limits, and keeping it non-sexual to avoid confusion.
And finally, we landed on the paradox. You enter the dependency to find true independence. You visit the child's self to heal the adult self.
It really challenges that deep-seated belief that we have to earn our keep in the world, that we have to be useful to be loved.
That is the fundamental lie this framework tries to correct. The lie that love is a transaction.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought to carry with you, and this comes directly from the implications of all this source material.
We've established that the parent role in this dynamic is about witnessing without fixing, and the child role is about receiving without earning.
So here's the question for you. Where in your own adult life, at work, in your relationships, even with yourself, are you performing usefulness just to feel allowed to exist?
And what would happen if you stopped performing, just for a moment? Would you still be worthy of care?
Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Take care.